All right, welcome back to the channel. We're going to talk about an order that came from the WBC for Errol Spence Jr. to fight Danny Garcia next, and why that is an absolutely useless, wasteless, useless, unimportant, dang near irrelevant mandate by the WBC. Let's talk about that in this video. All right, welcome back to the channel, man. We are still in the midst of all this nonsense, but we are still going to talk about this boxing. Thank you to everybody that joined on OG Boxing Talk, man. We keeping boxing moving when boxing is still stagnant. All right, the WBC, the World Boxing Council, is mandated Danny Garcia to fight Errol Spence Jr. Errol Spence Jr. is the WBC and the IBF welterweight champion of the world. Danny Garcia is the former 140-pound champion. I do believe he was unified at 140 pound, not undisputed, but unified at 140 pounds and was the man at 140 pounds. He moves up to 147 pounds. He winds up winning the WBC title, then losing that WBC title to Shawn Porter. As far as I can remember, I believe that Danny Garcia actually had lost his WBC title to Keith Thurman. So he won a title, then he lost the WBC title, then he fought for the WBC title again, lost for that. And now he's going to be he's the mandated to fight Errol Spence Jr. when all of this stuff goes on. There's a lot of, whenever all of this, virus stuff ends, obviously, there's a lot of talk about who's fighting who in the welterweight division. Is it going to be Manny Pacquiao versus Errol Spence, Mikey Garcia versus Danny Garcia, Shawn Porter versus Terrence Crawford, Errol Spence Jr. versus Shawn Porter rematch? There's a bunch of really good fights that can be made at 147 pounds. This fight between Danny Garcia and Errol Spence Jr. I do think is a very, very good fight. There's nothing really new about the fact that those guys are supposed to be fighting. The WBC had said this previously. I'm catching wind of it again because a lot of other people on the chat and other channels are making videos about it. I saw my man Blue Blood Sports TV did one the other day. Some other people talked about it. So I'm assuming that this is fresh again out there from the WBC. Here's my problem with the WBC in this order is that it doesn't make any difference. It doesn't make any difference. It holds zero weight because the WBC's mandatories mean nothing. WBC's rules are so inconsistent that it really does make you wonder why they even waste their time mandating somebody to fight. You've had some people in mandatory positions by the WBC more than one time where they just said, I don't feel like fighting a guy. And the WBC doesn't say anything to him. The WBC doesn't do anything to him. Take, for example, what happened with Devin Haney and Vasily Lomachenko. Devin Haney was in the position to be for the mandatory for Vasily Lomachenko. I think he won an eliminator, a title eliminator or something, like one of those fights is set up and make where the winner of that fight is going to be the mandatory to fight the champion. Well, Devin Haney did his part. The WBC just allowed Vasily Lomachenko to move right on up to the WBC franchise title and not fight not fight Devin Haney. And my understanding, and out of the mouths of the WBC president himself, Mauricio Sulaiman, and I do believe also from some people at Top Rank, that it was Vasily Lomachenko's team that requested that franchise championship. And so now he's the WBC champion and he doesn't ever have to face a mandatory for the WBC. Now, there's also the obvious a guy that the WBC made the franchise rule for. That is Canelo do whatever I want to do Alvarez. And he did not have to. He was franchised same way Lomachenko was, but first franchised so he could get out of a fight which should have been mandated between Canelo Alvarez and Jermall Charlo. So I mean, and it's replete, but there's boxing's replete, or the WBC is replete with examples of them just saying, nah, not just at the championship level, but at at secondary levels. You have multiple fights with Dillian White that were mandated to take place. Dillian White, Luis Ortiz, Dillian White, Dominic Brazil, and Dillian White just told him no, thank you. And he stays right where he is in the ranking. Like, hey, it's not like really even a mandatory for the WBC. It's more like it's like a strongly worded suggestion. Because if a fighter is big enough, and that's what they brought the franchise, that's what that whole franchise thing is about. If a guy is so, I can't remember exactly how they phrase it, but essentially the logic behind the franchise champion is that if a guy holds multiple weight division, multiple belts, or he can fight in multiple divisions, that the WBC doesn't want to hold them back with their with the mandatory. So they just say, whatever, we'll just make you a franchise champion, or they just ignore the fact that they made a guy the mandatory to begin with. So when I hear that they're mandating Errol Spence Jr. to fight Danny Garcia, my thought is, I guess that's going to happen if Errol Spence Jr. wants it to happen. But if Errol Spence Jr. doesn't want it to happen, the fight's not going to happen, because the WBC is not going to strip Errol Spence Jr. for refusing to fight Danny Garcia. Now, I don't see any reason why Errol Spence Jr. would do that. I don't believe he'll do that. Errol Spence already said that he was going to fight Danny. It was either going to be Danny Garcia, or it's going to be Manny Pacquiao. He doesn't know which he doesn't know which one right now. He's obviously looking for the Manny Pacquiao fight over the Danny Garcia fight. But like, if this was, for example, if this was not the WBC, if this was the IBF, and I do believe the mandatory for Errol Spence's for the IBF is Abdukarev. Abdukarev, I think that's how you pronounce his name. A decent fighter. I think he just got done beating Luis. It was a Luis Collazo. I think he just wound up beating Luis Collazo. Luis Collazo's a big time, been around a long time, absolute warrior, gatekeeper type of fighter. But this guy, Abdukarev, beat him and became the mandatory for the IBF. Now, for Errol Spence Jr., who is the IBF champion. Now, if the IBF said you got to fight Abdukarev and Errol Spence Jr. said no, then guess what? Errol Spence Jr. is no longer going to be the IBF champion. The IBF has positively has a mandatories. You know that's a fact because they stripped multiple people, and they stripped Canelo Alvarez. The same person that was elevated to some mythical nonsense franchise championship by the WBC for not fighting his mandatory. When they tried that over with the IBF said, no, thank you very much. Give me that belt back. And they went on ahead, and I do believe after they stripped him, they might have had Gennady Golovkin fight Sergey Deverenchenko for that vacant belt. Now Gennady Golovkin, who beat Sergey Deverenchenko barely, is back in his position to fight Canelo Alvarez, but now he has the IBF belt. They will strip you. The WBC, maybe they'll strip you, maybe they won't. And honestly, I'm having a hard time recalling the last time that they stripped somebody. Shoot, you had Jimenez, Alejandra Jimenez, who beat Cruz for the WBC, and I think the WBO, was it the heavyweight championship or was it 168? I think it might have been the 168 pound championship. I think Jimenez came down from heavyweight down to 168. So they fought for the WBC and the WBO 168 pound title. When Jimenez popped dirty for performance enhancing drugs, the WBO gave Cruz her belt back. My understanding is that the WBC stuck Jimenez. They took the title away. They didn't give it back to Cruz, but I think that they put her back in the ranking, and knowing what the WBC is doing, more than likely they're just going to order another fight between Jimenez and Cruz. I think they also did that with Luis Neri when Luis Neri beat Shinzuki Yakanama, the 115-pound champion out of Japan. He popped dirty for that, and I think the WBC wound up just ordering another rematch with him. It's absolutely crazy what the WBC does. So yeah, this is a mandate for Errol Spence Jr. to fight Danny Garcia, but the only thing, but it's more like a voluntary. If he decides he doesn't want to do it, he's not going to do it, and they're not going to stand in the way. They're not going to stand in the way because the WBC is like, well, can you fight somebody else that's going to give us his money? Well, yeah, we'll fight if I can get Manny Pacquiao. Sure, I'll do Manny Pacquiao, and though in that case, unification trumps mandatories, right? Whatever, man. The WBC's mandates mean next to nothing. I've sat here for several years now and watched them. Mandate fight after mandate fight after mandate fight, nothing happened with it. Same thing went on when they were mandating fights at 140 pounds between Jose Ramirez. It's supposed to be a little mini tournament between Jose Ramirez, Julius Ndongo, Emiri Mom, and Regis Prograis. And after Regis Prograis did his part and beat Julius Ndongo, Jose Ramirez fought Emiri Mom, and they, instead of it being an interim title, the WBC just turned it into the title. And then Jose Ramirez never had to fight Regis Prograis after that. Once Bob Arum and Top Rank got that belt, they said, nah, we're out of this. We're not doing it. The WBC balked, and as a result, you never got the fight that the WBC had mandated between Regis Prograis and Jose Ramirez. It's just a crock when it comes to the WBC and these mandatories. Anyway, it is what it is. You let me know what you think in the comment section. And with that, I'm out. Peace.